Beth, welcome to Women Investor Wednesdays. How are you?
I am well today. Thank you for having me.
So, two Beths. How great is that? I won't forget your name. Well, so happy to have you. Before we get started, I'd just like to share with the audience why we're here. During COVID, I had learned a stat that of all of the investors in commercial real estate, only 3% were women. And of that, half were inherited or women who were signing on their husband's guarantees. I thought that was awful. I couldn't believe it, actually. I'm thinking I'm only part of 1.5%. That's just crazy. I mean, I knew I was in the minority. I just thought those numbers were super low. And I started asking my friends who work in commercial real estate, like on a daily basis, asset managers, tenant rep brokers. I'm like, so you guys invest, right? Yeah, for sure. What do you invest in? The stock market. I'm like, wait a minute. You have free insider trading. Why aren't you investing in commercial real estate? They're like, no, we don't have $1 million. I'm like, okay, you don't need $1 million. Well, it's complicated. So is the stock market. So I kept drilling down and kind of debunking these myths. But they would all end up with, we don't know anyone else doing it. So how would we learn, right, about it? It's not like women are on the golf course talking about their latest deals, which is what guys are doing. So I said, okay, that's a problem I can solve. So I did a virtual summit on Zoom, early days of COVID. We had about 100 women attend. I interviewed 8 to 10 women like you. The women went into their respective breakout rooms talking about their specific asset classes, from multifamily to student housing to retail. And it was very successful. And since then, I've done 4 live events, but I capped the room at 250 because what I'm seeing now that we've done this 5 years is women are starting to invest with each other in the room because they have the trust factor, because they've seen them year after year after year at this investor conference, and it's all women, no men. And so my goal in the beginning was I'm going to take that 3% to 10% by the time I turn 70. So I just turned 65. And then last year, I don't know if I was short of sleep or whatever, but our theme was think bigger. And I announced on stage that I'm going to get it to 30%. So I realized I'm never going to get that number to 30 if I just rely on the conference. So I said, you know what, let me do a weekly podcast where I can interview 50 women in a year span. And actually, because, I do a lot of recording and I don't do all of them live on Wednesday nights, I think I'm over 200 interviews. So by interviewing women like you, we're getting the word out, and hundreds and hundreds and sometimes thousands of people are re-listening to the podcast. So I don't know how we're going to get to 30. That's my goal. I don't want to negotiate my goal, but that's why you're here and why the podcast was born a couple of years ago.
I love that. I mean, it's great. And I think it's possible to get to 30. More and more women are coming into real estate every single day. I get emails all the time. I have a pretty active TikTok account, and I get emails all the time. And I would say that it's a 60-40 split in terms of who's reaching out. 60% women wanting to know, hey, Beth, I see, your story and kind of what you did in a short period of time. How can I be doing that? And so I try and help as many women as possible get started. So yeah, I think it's growing, but yes, the answer to it all is how to begin and where to begin. So if you're providing, these podcasts as resources, sooner or later, it's going to catch on even more so than what it already has. And I think it's going to grow.
So let's start at your origination story, your journey. Mm-hmm. When did you get started? Like, tell us about you. Where do you live? Did you have a W-2? Like, let's just go back a little bit.
Absolutely. So I live in Cincinnati, Ohio with my husband. I have 1 daughter. And I'm a dog mom to 4 dogs. So we absolutely love our puppies. My origination story, interestingly, I figured out early on in life that I'm not a W-2 kind of gal. I don't work well for other people. I truly believe it is because I grew up in a family in which, entrepreneurship, in particular, my grandfather and then my father, I watched them grow a shoe store business in Northeast Ohio. And so having watched them do that, I was like, okay, they are setting the rules, defining when they can come and go. My dad always took Wednesdays off. And then, of course, he had Sundays and then usually worked like a half a day on Saturday. But with raising 5 kids, he was at every single basketball event, softball event, cheerleading competition, marching, you name it, whatever we were involved in, he was always there. And I thought to myself, that is what I want for my life. And so I quickly learned that as I was given an opportunity at a hotel. I was the director of catering. And there were some rules and regulations that I didn't necessarily like following, but my general manager, he and I had a wonderful relationship. He only liked to work 9 to 3, Monday through Friday. So he left the hotel in my hands every single evening. And he said, make the best decisions that you think are going to, be in the best interest of the hotel. And so I got a taste of, oh, this is what it's like to be in charge. This is what it's like to kind of have my own business. And so shortly after that, I was dating a gentleman, and we decided that we wanted to go to a bigger city. We were in a very kind of a small town. This was a boutique hotel I was working for. And so moved to Cincinnati, broke up with the boyfriend, but I started working, a W-2 at a Hyatt hotel. And I was like, I can't do this. I need to figure something else out. And so I started my own insurance practice. And it was, okay, I'm building this up and, I'm waiting tables on the side and so forth. And shortly thereafter, I met my husband, and he was all in on starting an outdoor living space construction company. And I said, you know what, I'm willing to help you. I'll continue on with my insurance practice for a little while, but let's go build this up. And we started that in 1999, and we still own it today. So throughout the life cycle of having that, I had a fitness studio. I had an internet-based business for women's golf apparel and accessories. I had a catering business, but eventually stumbled into real estate right around 2018, thanks to my husband watching an infomercial about fixing and flipping single-family homes. And he watched it in the middle of the night and then signed us up for some, event that was coming to our city. And, he tells me that the next day, and I'm like, oh, great. What are you getting us into? But honestly, at that point, programs, TV shows like Chip and Joanna and, Love It or List It were super popular. We loved watching them. So we thought to ourselves, well, why not us? Let's go be the Chip and Joanna of Cincinnati. So that was our entree into real estate. But it wasn't easy. And really it was made possible because we attended this event. And this event led to another 3-day event, which led to this 5-day bus tour out in Irvine, California. And that's where we met all of our future partners. I mean, we were in a room with maybe 300, 400 other people that wanted to do this. Some people had money. Some people didn't. Some people had expertise like us in construction. And some people were like, hey, I want to be a hands-off investor. Who can I partner with? That's where we met our first private money lender partner. And so just being in the room is what made the difference for us. And so that's kind of how we started on our journey.
That's amazing. I have done that. I've gone to the workshops. I've signed up for the next workshop for the mastermind, right? And I have family members. Okay, what are you doing now? Like, what crazy thing are you doing now, right? And it's so funny when you're in the room with us crazy people that are in those things. We're all crazy together,
right?
But we're improving ourselves, right?
Sure.
But you come home and so do you know who Jesse Itzler is?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I just went to the New York. He did a public stand-up, and I took one of my girlfriends who's never been to anything like that. She's like, what is going on here? So, but it takes a special person, but we all benefit from those. We benefit from the education. I always say to people, if I leave with one new idea, it was worth it, right? One idea is could be worth $1 million.
Right.
So, so I applaud your husband for signing up for it in the middle of the night. My first thing that I did, I was 27. My boss took me to a Tom Hopkins sales seminar with Tom Hopkins. And I think I paid $1,987 for cassette tapes on sales training that I absolutely did not have that money, put it on a credit card, but I wore those suckers out. I had a job that I drove an hour back and forth every day, and I wore those suckers out. And I'm telling you, to this day, I still use some of the sales techniques that I learned from him. And I was in commercial and he was teaching it for residential, but I was able to, convert it. So yeah, we are a unique, and again, when we're with our regular people, I think I'm in the minority, but then I go in those rooms and there's thousands of us.
Right. And we are all like aligned in terms of what we're thinking, the goal, what we believe. And so it makes it so much easier to go there. Of course, you come home and you're around family members and you tell them and they're like, kind of, why don't you just go get a job? And I'm like, I can't do it. I don't know how that.
It's really hard. It's so hard to turn off the people who love you.
Right.
Like, I cannot tell you how many times people have said, okay, what's your new crazy idea? But, I continue to be successful. So you just have to, block those people, love them, but block them out.
Yeah. It's funny because I have family members who are, what are you up to and why? And then I have some that are like, hey, kudos to you that you are just going for it and doing it. I love the fact that you take risks because they're not willing to. So they sometimes are like, I'm living vicariously through you with everything that you're doing. So I'm like, well, I'll bring you along for as much of it as I can and see where it takes all of us. But it's interesting, the support.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. So you and your husband, you go to the 1 day thing, the 3 day thing, the 5 day thing. Now you're on a bus tour and you meet you have expertise, right? You have a company that has construction elements to it and you meet someone who's got money. So do you leave there and say, okay, we're going to partner, we're going to go back to Cincinnati and we're going to buy what? Like what happened next?
Yeah. So, ironically, this gentleman lived in Northern Kentucky, which is right across the border from Cincinnati. So it made it very easy for us to look for properties together. And prior to us actually going to this bus tour, because there was time in between the 1 day event, the 3 day event, and so forth. And once we went to the 3 day event, I immediately enlisted the help of realtors to find potential opportunities. And so there were a few realtors that were working very hard for us. And one in particular came across an opportunity that involved siblings who were fighting regarding inheritance because both of their parents the last parent had passed away. And generally speaking, if you are in the real estate space, you hear about, sometimes you can get the best deals from death, divorce, and debt. So the 3Ds. And so in this particular case, it did happen to be death. And the siblings didn't get along. And so they were fighting and they wanted to basically sell this house as soon as possible so that the estate could be divided and everyone could go about their happy lives. So this was in December. And we all know in December, sometimes you can get good deals in real estate, especially with single family homes. If people are trying to get rid of a house and so forth. And so in this particular case, we look at this house, we're like, oh my gosh, we can take this $300,000 home, which is, what we wanted to pay for it. They were asking for more. Probably put about, $250 into it and sell it for $750,000, somewhere around there, given the desirable neighborhood that it was in. So we put our offer in and they, said no. So our realtor advised us, she's like, you know what? Let them sit on this over Christmas. You know, the more they sit on this, the likelihood of them coming back to you and saying, hey, we will strike a deal with you is probably going to be greater, because they're not going to get any offers. They had it priced too high to begin with. They weren't budging. So finally, I think it was like 2.5, 3 weeks later, we received a phone call from our realtor, and she said, you're never going to believe this, but they want to strike a deal with you. So that was how we ended up with our first property. And then from there, it really was, just cultivating relationships with realtors and so forth. And one realtor in particular, he really took off for us, because he always would receive pocket listings, which those are listings that are off market. And so the more opportunity we had for pocket listings, the greater the chance of us, being able to get the house at a better price, lower commissions, for the realtors and so forth. And, you make your money when you buy, not when you sell. So that worked out really well for us.
So the first one, was it at 300, and did you get a mortgage, or did the money guy put in the money? And then how much did you guys put in? Do you still own it? Did you sell it? Tell us walk us through the deal. And did the improvements cost what you budgeted, or were they higher? These are the questions that my audience loves to know about.
Oh, absolutely. So this was an interesting deal, to be honest with you. First off, we got a hard money loan on it. Our partner had an exceptional credit score, and so we were able to get some good rate, or a great rate, I should say, with the hard money loan. And then he was going to be providing the difference between what the hard money loan would, what we would receive from the hard money loan, and the gap. Okay, because there's always going to be a gap. They'll only lend maybe, up to a certain loan to value. So if the house was valued at, 700,000, they're going to lend, up 90% of that, so we have to provide that gap. So as far as costs, however, we ended up with, and this was a great learning lesson for us. We had hired a contractor to assist us with the renovation. Our outdoor construction business was really taking off at that time. It was just an interesting time that, we honestly could not afford to take our crews and put them indoors. So there was a gentleman that we had been working with on some of our outdoor projects, and he's like, hey, I've got an extra crew. I can put them to work. I can really help out here. I'd love to be in partnership with you. So he was all excited, thinking, hey, this is a great opportunity. If they're going to continue to do this, this will be a constant stream of income for him. So we said, okay, great. So we sign an agreement, but the agreement was not nearly what it should have been for protection purposes. He gave us, kind of a lump sum dollar amount that he was going to do everything for, with very vague details, let's just say. Now, because we had done business with him, we naturally assumed, which, never assume anything. We naturally assumed that he was going to do right by us. Well, come to find out, he was underwater on another project, and this happened to be a commercial project, and he was behind schedule. So when he promised us that he would start our project and finish our project by a certain period in time, none of that happened. And we had given him some funds, not a lot, but enough that he was utilizing those funds to keep his other project going. So in other words, he was doing the typical robbing Peter to pay Paul. Right. So that was very unfortunate. And this kind of kept dragging out. He was supposed to start in March, which he did, and he did demo in March. But come November of that same year, we fired him, and we said, look, we can't do this anymore. He maybe had 40% of the work done. And he was so irate that we let him go. And we're like, what do you have to be mad about? You haven't done what you promised. You said you were going to be done with this project in July. It is now November. We only have 40% of it completed. And he started going after my husband, sending him text messages, leaving nasty voicemails. And so close to Christmas, he sends him a picture of a rifle scope, and he said, look what I got for Christmas. And we were like, oh no, that's it. We are, we called our lawyer. We're like, what do we need to do to get a restraining order against this gentleman?
Oh my gosh, terrible.
Yes.
Was your husband thinking, why did I sign up for that course at 2:00 in the morning a year ago?
He was kicking himself at that point. He's like, what was I thinking a year and a half ago? But anyway, so we obtained the restraining order, and then he turns around and he places a lien on the property. And in that lien, he listed or stated, I should say, he stated that he had completed 90% of the project and was owed X number of dollars. And we're like, what, where? Luckily we had pictures, and we're like, look, if you want to fight this, we have pictures, we have documentation, we have all of these things. If you want to go. So what we ended up doing was we gave him a small settlement of like $10,000 to just go away. Right. He took the lien off the property. And at that point, we ourselves ended up finishing the project, put it on the market. And really, like, we ended up getting what we wanted out of it. And budget wise, of course, was higher than anticipated, simply because some of the work we had to go in and redo of his. But really what killed us was the holding costs, because when you hold a house, for, at that point, I think we were more like at 16, 17 months, something like that, way too long for holding costs. So while we did not make the money that we had hoped on it, we learned some pretty valuable lessons.
Yeah, you got your master's class, right? Yes. You got your master's class. Yeah. So, and was your money partner guy going, it's okay, we're going to learn from this? Or was he like, I'm not partnering with you guys anymore? Are you guys still partners? Or?
Unfortunately, he passed away in a helicopter accident.
Oh.
I know. But we still kept in touch. So we did 2 houses together. And then he said, I'm going to take a break because I need to work on my own house. And so then he started dating a gal and kind of got really involved in that. But we still exchanged, happy birthday messages, holiday messages, and so forth. And then we found out about the helicopter accident.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So yeah, that was unfortunate. But
okay. So were you guys sitting watching TV at 2 a.m. going, we're never doing this again? Or we're like, we're going to double down because we just got our whole master's degree in this. Let's do it again. And so you did 2 houses. So did you go right into another house with this guy who passed? Or what was deal number 2? And by the way, so you sold deal 1, right? That's out of your
deal 1. Yeah, we sold deal 1. Deal number 2 was with him, and we found that deal halfway through deal number 1. And so we did that deal. That was a great deal for us. That one really worked out well for us. Now we did have that same contractor. We had brought him in thinking he was going to be doing, but
he's going to be the team.
Yeah. Once we got rid of him, we were like, okay. And we were able to finish that second house before the first house, if you can believe it. The first house was just bigger. It had a lot more going on with it. The second house, though, we put that for sale right before, it was 2 weeks after COVID started. So COVID started middle of March. So end of March, we put that on the market. Within a day, we had 9 offers, and and we ended up selling it for above asking. And that was really the start of where you started to see so many of these houses going for above asking during COVID and whatnot. But no, we ended up meeting another money partner. And it was through the same organization that, we had attended the bus tour with and whatnot. And we went on to do, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 houses with him. Awesome. So we did 5 houses with him. Then we had another money partner that we did 2 houses with. And really after that, we thought we had washed our hands of, we are no longer doing renovations. And then this past year, a historic renovation actually came into our lives, and we were able to get 100% funding through a partnership that we have. And so we thought, you know what, this is different. This is not like anything we've ever done. It's historic. The city's given it a lot of press. It's in a beautiful location. It overlooks, you can basically see like a 360 of the city from the top balcony. And we thought to ourselves, you know what, this is something that we want to take on because it's got more meaning to it. We're breathing new life into something that's historic, and we're going to preserve it. So we've been very excited about that. But honestly, we've pivoted into development, which, technically, a lot of the houses, I don't always like to say that we flip them. I like to say that we redevelop them. It's just the word sounds a little fancier than just flipping. So we're doing that. So redeveloping that, and then doing more of actual physical development of, taking land and then entitlement.
That's assertive and aggressive development.
It is. It is. Now I got partners on this, which is great. But we've had two really amazing opportunities. One is in Atlanta, mixed use multifamily. And the other one is here in Cincinnati. That one is, we're creating an ecosystem with a sports facility, hotels, grocery store, restaurants, and what else were we going to have there? Multifamily as well. So,
Wow.
I know, big stuff. But you know what? You have to start somewhere, right? So development was always one of those things that I had a vision for, like, wow, I really want to do something like that at some point. Never knew how that would be possible, never thought it would be possible, but, taking the baby steps and then meeting people along the way, that's really been what has opened the doors to starting off from that, infomercial, in 2018 to, 7 years later, here we are, working on a few developments.
So, and are you guys still using outside money, or now are you putting money in yourself? Are you still doing the sweat equity portion? And then how do the partnerships work?
Yeah. So really for all of our flips, we've used other people's money. So we've not pulled anything out of our own pocket. For the development, same sort of thing, other people's money, raising equity, raising debt. So yeah, there's that. And then in between all of that, I have been part of 4 syndications for multifamily and student housing. And all of those were required us to raise capital. So throughout the life of this, yes, I and we have used other people's money the entire time.
Wow. Amazing. And do you guys sign on the debt, or do other people sign on the debt?
Like for the commercial property, the non-recourse, yes, we sign on the debt.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you've gone from an infomercial to redeveloping homes to now you're bringing in your boutique hotel experience, right? Because you're going to do this commercial multi-use property, right? Mixed use, grocery store, restaurant, hotel, multifamily. You're adventurous.
We do like to take risks. We do. And I just don't know any other way, to be honest with you. Obviously the risks are very calculated, right? It's your due diligence. You have to make sure that, do your research. And we learned early on, especially from that very first flip, essentially, that, you can't really trust anybody. Like, make sure everything's in writing, get it down in writing so that you know what the expectations are, what the timelines are. And just because someone is a friend, that's great, but, everybody still needs to be protected. And I think it's the number one kind of rule, so to speak, that most investors break, and that's why they end up losing money, is because somebody comes to them and says, hey, I've got this great deal. And, oh, okay, here's some money. And then they never see that money back. So ensuring that there's protection for everyone, and that includes, we as contractors, we make sure just in how, we've got our contracts and so forth that we send to our clients and so forth, and everyone's protected in it. And we've had lawyers look at it. We've done work for lawyers, and they've looked at it and they're like, hey, we're very comfortable signing this contract because it protects all of us. So I think that's the biggest thing is ensuring protections, and that's what we've done. And so that helps to minimize the risk as you move forward.
Do you ever have a hard time raising the money? Like, so when I raise money, I always say, okay, this is how much I'm putting in. So so it's kind of, for me, it helps me get them to give me money because I'm in the game also. Now, I don't do any contracting, right? I'm not bringing my own sweat equity or a company in to do the work. And I understand that that's extremely valuable. But have you had any pushback on that?
With most of our fix and flips, no, simply because we are the contractor. We are, and the contracts have always been skewed towards the investor. Like, we're going to take the hit before they're going to take the hit. So if we don't make the money that we say we're going to make for you, we're not taking any profit. You are going to, get the profit. So, and they understand the sweat equity piece, and, we've got to put out money ahead of time anyways for materials and labor and whatnot. With our syndications, I mean, that's an interesting point. So a lot of times what we've done is, generally with syndications, you have fees that are part of the syndication. So it could be the asset management fees. It could be an organizational fee, et cetera, et cetera. So a lot of times we'll forego our fees as part of the deal and say, look, we're not taking any fees on this. This is like our contribution to this deal so that we have returns that will come out, the returns will be better and we have more skin in the game as a result. Right. So yeah, a lot of times we've structured it that way. Now, there have been times, don't get me wrong, where yes, we've some of my general partners who have been how do I say this? They're more seasoned and have been in the game longer. They put money into the deal. Like, they physically have put money into the deal because they've liked the deal, and also too, a lot of times, well, not a lot of times. In one case in particular, our equity partner who was bringing, so we had a raise of like $8 million and we had an equity partner come in with $4 million. They required that everybody who was signing on the debt actually put some money into it. In that particular deal, I was not signing on the debt. There were, I think, 4 out of the 6 of us signing on the debt. And so those 4 actually physically put money into it. So, and then I think on that one, I did forego, like $50,000 of the fee I would have gotten paid, and then put that into it as kind of my contribution to. So yeah, it's
very right. Deals are so creative, right? There's 10, 15 ways to skin a cat.
Right.
So, yep. Okay. So you help women get in this game, which is so important to me because I don't teach women. My goal is to expose, bring awareness, have the conference, bring women together. I'm not going to teach anyone. First of all, I wouldn't know how to teach anyone how to buy a redevelopment home or a fix and flip. No idea. I mean, if I sold my house, I'd have to hire a realtor. So I only know about retail, and I don't really want to teach anyone how to do that either because I don't know. I'm happy just yelling at everyone to get in the game and talk about money.
Sure.
So, yep. But you have helped women. So talk about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have, and I've been asked numerous times, do you have a program? Do you have a mentorship and so forth? And, I always tell them, a lot of times I'm working on deals myself, and I have women that will come to me through social media channels with a variety of different, asks. And so I can't necessarily, I'm like, okay, how do I take all these asks and put them underneath one umbrella? Because someone might be asking me about an assisted living facility, or they might be asking me about a fix and flip. Sometimes people will ask me about private money lending. And so what I generally tell people is I am willing to have, 15-minute to 30-minute call, no charge whatsoever. and hop on the phone with you, kind of tell you a little, you share with me exactly what's going on in your world and what are you looking to do. And I will provide direction. And that direction could be in the form of, hey, look, I think you need to go check out this group because what you're telling me, this sounds like it would be appropriate for you. Or if they, so whatever it is that their need is, I usually will end up directing them to where I think they're going to be best, where they're going to get the most advantage and the most expertise and knowledge. And I'll be very frank with them too. Like, hey, I don't have expertise in this, but this is a person that does. And I always tell them, look, I'm calling from my cell phone. You can program this number if after we get off, our 15, 30 minutes, if after we get off and you're like, wow, I want to use her as a resource, program this number into your phone, keep my name and contact me at any time, either call me or shoot me a text message, ask me a question. And then I tell them too, if you are in need of one-on-one coaching because maybe there's something that I'm currently doing that's resonating with you, I'm happy to schedule some calls and charge. I mean, I would charge for them, but I usually would schedule like 4 sessions over the course of a month, 2 months, something like that, and just give them guidance on different things they can go do and resources, and kind of dig into some of the projects that they're working on and so forth. So while I don't have a mentorship and like, hey, go to this page and sign up here, click this, I just always offer to help in whatever way I can. And I do believe that just genuinely helping people, just is the best way to go, because I do want to see, that's what people have done for me. And I'm like, I've asked time of people, and they've given it to me. It's the least I can turn around and do for others.
Well, and I think, like you said, what is your what's it called thing on your name on TikTok?
Investing with Beth.
Oh, I like that. So, so, and that's what I do also, like, hey, I've got 900 videos on YouTube. Now, this is again in my other business, my retail consulting, retail leasing, advising, coaching business, which I do. But, being able to put out content like
don't become lenders because they have more money.
So I love it. Here I am. So investing with Beth. But that's what I do. When people ask me questions, I usually go do a video about it and put it on social, because if someone has the question, 30 other people have the question.
Absolutely. Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
All fascinating. I can't wait to watch. Have you broken ground on the mixed use? Is the mixed use thing in Atlanta or somewhere else?
So mixed use multifamily is in Atlanta, and then the ecosystem with the hotels and so forth, that's here in Cincinnati.
That's good that it's local.
Yes. I'm so excited because it will be much easier to kind of video log, everything that's going on with it, and be able to show, the transformation and so forth. Currently, we had we had to go before the planning commission the other evening for zoning to get the land rezoned. They were ecstatic about the project, so excited. So right now we're working towards the acquisition of the land, and we have preliminary plans. So we're working on the debt and equity piece for the acquisition of the land. And then we'll move forward with the construction of some of these other pieces. Things like the hotel that may or may not be constructed by us. It all depends. If we bring in a hotelier that, wants to put a hotel, in this particular market, great. They're going to be responsible for their own build out and so forth. But yeah. And then the other one in Atlanta, we're just working through, again, the acquisition of the dirt and finalizing all of that. And that should be done, I would say within the next 2 to 3 weeks. And then we'll be off to the races on that.
Fun. I can't wait to watch all of the progress that you're making.
I'm excited.
Well, Beth, last question. I would say 30%, 70% of the people who watch the podcast or listen to the podcast, I think, are investors, current investors. But there's about 30% that are sitting on the sidelines trying to figure out where to go, what to do. They have money to invest, but they haven't dipped their toe in the water. What would be your advice to them?
I would say to get in the room, attend as many virtual and in-person events as possible that are related to real estate. And if you're not quite sure of the asset class or kind of the type of thing that you want to be in, I mean, there's wholesalers, there's redevelopers, there's people that develop, there's people that acquire, RV parks and mobile home parks and multifamily and so forth. If you're not quite sure of all that, do your research. Do your research to see what resonates with you, maybe narrow it down to 2 or 3 things, and then start attending events that are specific to those. Sometimes you can just go to regular real estate events that are just, general and begin to network with individuals. Every single thing that has happened to me in real estate has been the result of me networking. So if when I think about finding our private money partners, that was going to an event, networking, and we found private money partners. Entering into the commercial real estate space, I did go to a multifamily syndication event that was similar setup to the 1 day, the 3 day, and the bus tour. Although I didn't go as far as the bus tour, I just went to the 3 day. And the piece of advice that we were given there was hop on Facebook and start talking to people, and that's what I did. And because of that, I met this is how I met my future partners. I started talking to them. Then next thing I know, I was going to an event. I told one of them that, hey, I'm heading to this event. He's like, I'll meet you there. And we ended up meeting. He introduced me to 2 other gentlemen. And the next thing you know, the 4 of us, along with 2 other gentlemen, began acquiring purpose-built student housing properties. And now we have 482 beds. So, you just never know where it's going to come from. But that's just how deals are done. It's getting in the rooms, just like attending your event, right? People who attend your event, like that's a great place to start because you're going to meet people who are already doing stuff.
And women, because I just heard you say, and I met this gentleman and I met this gentleman and then these 2 other gentlemen. And I'm like, yeah. So, but I have, what is purpose-filled student housing? We didn't even talk about that. You're going to have to come back. What is that?
Yeah. Purpose-built student housing is housing that is built. Generally, it's off-campus housing specifically for students who no longer have to stay like the required on campus for their freshman year and can move off campus. And these apartment style type housing it's specifically built for students. So for instance, we have one that has, if you walk into it, it's got a general room with family room, laundry, a bathroom, and then it has a full kitchen. And then off of, in the 4 corners off of that main room are studio apartments where there's a bed, there's a small living space, there's a kitchenette, and then there's a full bathroom. So that's what, the student actually gets to live in, but they have the luxury of having this other big space and then their own private space. So it's generally close to campus and services the kids who move off campus after that required freshman or sophomore year.
Got it. Yeah. Well, I always say to people, between you and your next deal is a person. So you've got to get out of your house or your office. Right. Like you and I met at the Resilient Investor Conference in Chicago on November?
That was end of October, beginning of November.
Yeah, it was like Halloween weekend, right? So, and here we are, and now we're friends. So absolutely. And so definitely March 4th through the 6th, you'd love to all come down to Fort Lauderdale. Lovely Fort Lauderdale to come to the Women Investor Summit. 250 women. It'll be amazing. All different asset classes, speakers, breakouts, bus tour, the whole shebang. So Beth, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome.
Love having you, a fellow Beth and a fellow Midwesterner. Happy holidays, and thank you again. And if anyone would like to talk to Beth, follow her on TikTok, Investing with Beth. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.